How to Start a Trucking Company, your step-by-step guide to starting a trucking company. Written by HowExpert Press. Narrated by Sam Slidell. Introduction. How to Start a Trucking Company is a guide that will show you step-by-step how to open and operate a trucking company. It will give you all the tools needed to accomplish this goal. Operating a trucking company is something many truck drivers dream of doing, and many do. Whether they are a LLC or are incorporated, there are steps that everyone has to take in order to accomplish this goal. As a whole, the trucking industry can be very lucrative if you know what you are doing. There are plenty of former drivers and even current drivers that decided to take their career as drivers further and open a trucking business. As you will see, as you get deeper into the industry, that there are plenty of companies, large and small, and there is still a shortage of drivers. With the right tools, you can have a successful business within 6 months. You will learn how to obtain freight, drivers, equipment, and office space for your business. Going through the steps in this guide, you should be able to have your company up and running within a month. Chapter 1. Paperwork. Applying for your operating authority and insurance. When applying for your operating authority, a few things you need to accomplish this. Determine what type of freight you want to haul and get the operating authority that coincides with it. Fill out all online forms that's needed. Determine which regulations apply to you and your company. Pay all fees necessary. Once you have applied, getting the authority paperwork could take up to 4 weeks, in some cases longer. Make sure when you apply that this is the first thing you do. Getting truck insurance. Obtaining truck insurance is important. You will need 4 different types. Liability. This is for an accident when there is damaged property and there are injuries to individuals. The truck driver is not covered. Workers' compensation. This insurance covers the driver. This is basic medical coverage that helps a driver get treatment after an accident and the driver can obtain during recuperation. Physical damage. This insurance allows repair of your equipment in case of an accident and the other party is not insured or insured under your policy. Cargo insurance. Cargo insurance is for the damage or theft of the cargo on your trailer. It keeps you from having to pay for the cargo that can be a big cost. The cost of getting insurance depends on many factors: your region of operation, the size of your company, the number of vehicles that you need to insure. It would be advisable to check with several different insurance companies that specialize in trucking so you can get the best price and you do not end up with a company that says they cover everything, and when an accident happens, you find out that it was not covered. Thoroughly check out each company and ask questions. For example, how long have they been in business? And ask them to explain their terms and conditions in detail to you. If you find a price unusually low, then check with the Better Business Bureau. Applying for EIN and company name. Choosing your company name is an easy task. Check with your local State Corporation Commission, SCC, in your state to see if it is available. If the name is available, register it. Some states require that you re-register the name every 5 years. File the name with local city or county offices and place an ad in the local newspaper, if necessary, notifying that you have applied for the business license. You will be the owner of that name until you decide to dissolve the company or sell it. You can choose a name and register it using Doing Business As, DBA. The legal name of a business is the name of the person that owns the business. If you are the sole owner, then use your name as the business name. If there are partners, then use the last names of the partners or whatever names listed on agreement between the partners. With a LLC or corporations, use the name register with the government. Along with the company name, apply for your free Federal Identification Number, FIN, or Employer Identification Number, EIN. This number is for the identification of your company for IRS purposes. You do not need Form SS4 when you file online. You can obtain this information on the IRS website, irs.gov/business/small. Tip: there are companies on the internet that will file the paperwork for you. Permits. When deciding what type of freight you want to haul, having the necessary permits is necessary. You need to get the appropriate permit if you want to haul oversized or overweight loads. The same goes if you are an intrastate company and you want to travel over the state lines where you need a temporary fuel and trip permit. Most permits expire by the end of the year, December 31st. Authorities will hold any truck without the proper permits and give the owner a fine that the owner will have to take care of before the authorities will release the vehicle. You will need to file for a single state registration system, SSRS, within each state that they operate. Kentucky, New Mexico, New York, and Oregon require additional paperwork for road and tax reporting. Trucking companies that use highways heavily will need Form 2290, Heavy Highway Use Tax, HVUT, by trucking companies that use the highways heavily. The collected monies are for road repairs and maintenance in the states that you work. If you are considering hauling hazardous materials, you need to file for a FMCSA safety permit and the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, PHMSA. PHMSA is solely for the pipeline and hazardous material transportation programs. When transporting hazardous materials, also known as hazmat, there are strict rules you must follow. You must use certain routes to protect the environment and the public as well, for security reasons. Incorporation. When starting your company, you may want to figure out if you want to incorporate it. There are different kinds of corporations. Most common are LLC, Limited Liability Company. You are not responsible for the bills or debt of your company, and your debtors cannot come after your personal assets to collect on debts owed. There are several benefits to having a LLC. No restrictions on ownership. You can have many owners. Credibility. Better than a sole proprietor. Taxation. No taxes paid at owner's level. C Corporation. More flexible. Unlimited owners. Easy transfer of ownership. Less frequently audited by DOT. Owners classified as employees. S Corporation. Similar to C Corporation, but do not pay tax at the business level. Like C Corp and LLC, owners are not responsible for business debt. You can raise money by selling stock. Business expenses can be tax deductible. Able to easily transfer ownership by selling stock. Depending on the type of business you intend on operating, choosing to incorporate will be a smart move. By incorporating, it relieves you from any debt the company incurs. Small business grants. When you are looking for financing for your business, a good place to look is at small business grants. Even though the federal government doesn't have the resources at this point, you can look into getting one through your state. You need to be diligent in your efforts to secure the grant. These are a few suggestions when seeking a grant. Search the internet. Check with your local government. Visit the library. Be very patient. Make sure it is real. A grant, unlike loans, does not have to be repaid, but it has specific and strict guideline and reporting responsibilities. There is no credit check or cosigner needed when filing for a grant. Another program to look into on the local level is your state's Economic Development Agency. These agencies are often confused with Small Business Development Center, which is usually located at colleges. Unlike grants, small business loans require you to have good credit. You also have to have a business plan, experience, and education for the business you are starting. When preparing your business plan, there are several questions you need to consider answering that the lender may ask. How much money do you need? What is the money dedicated to? How long will it take you to repay the loan? If you do not qualify for the loan, what will you do? Don't be discouraged if the lender did not give you the loan. Ask the lender what was the reason you did not get it and learn from it so that when you go to the next lender, you can make sure you do not have the same problem. Calculating startup costs. When calculating your startup costs, keep in mind that you are going to need a few months of operating money. When your trucks have made their deliveries and pickups, you're going to need the capital to pay them. The drivers and other employees can't wait 30 to 45 days for your customers to pay you. That is a good way to lose your employees before you get started. It will take some time before your company can generate a profit, so when calculating your costs and looking for a grant or small business loan, try to estimate that time in. When calculating startup costs, make sure you distinguish between one-time charges and recurring charges. That way you can establish a budget for your company. Be sure to look for advantages. You can deduct some of your startup costs on your taxes. For more complicated tax implementations, you may need a tax professional, which may be an additional cost. You can find a sample worksheet to help you calculate your startup costs on the Better Business Bureau website. Here is a list of things you should consider when calculating your costs. Location, inventory, equipment, employees, marketing, professional fees and permits, administrative and operational costs. If you need more help, you can talk to other business owners to find out how they calculated their startup. The SBA offers free counseling as well, if needed. It's better to overestimate than to underestimate your startup costs. Look at other companies and how they have calculated their costs. This can help you get started. Also, look at support groups for your industry. There should be chat rooms or message boards where you can pose questions and get immediate answers. It would be good to subscribe to a magazine or newsletter for the industry you are in, if applicable. Trucking expenses are different from that of other businesses. Your expenses can be 10 to 25% higher with the expense of trucks, trailers, and other equipment that is normally not found in other businesses. Tip: try online calculators and checklists to help you calculate your expenses. Writing a business plan. Writing a business plan is one of the most important tasks in starting a company. In this document, you will plan your company's mission. It does not have to be 100 pages, and the language is not always perfect, but you will have to do the research. Find out as much as possible for the type of business you intend on operating. When writing your business plan, you have to make sure the numbers work. Try to calculate realistic numbers for the services your company will provide. A business plan can keep you from getting in over your head. Checking out the competition with your particular industry can help you estimate your costs. When applying for a loan from a bank or for a grant, they will ask you for a business plan. They would want to know what you want the money for and if you will be able to pay it back. You can find software and templates online to help you, but it would be good for you to do your own research. Using the software as a guideline can give you pointers on what to include in your business plan. You should limit the amount of pages your business plan should be. Approximately 18 pages is a good start. Anything longer than 50 is excessive and has a tendency to have unnecessary information. These are the main parts to a successful business plan. Executive summary. You should write this last, and it should be a short paragraph that summarizes some sections of your business plan. Place this page in the front. Company summary. This section tells the prospective investor about your company, its operations, and your industry. Talk about your employees, office equipment, and other equipment, i.e., trucks, trailers, etc. Market analysis. In this section, you can talk about the competition in your market. You can compare several different competitors, then explain how your company will be better and how you can help the market expand. You should list what it will cost for marketing your business and the cost for ads and printing. However, be realistic with the figures. Checking with ad agencies or printing companies can give you a general idea of costs. Operations. In this section, you will explain how your company will operate day to day. You will explain the role of your dispatchers, brokers, and office personnel. You will need to include how you will track each driver, trailer, and cargo, what type of equipment you will use to do the job. You will explain your payroll and taxes as well and what you will do if one of your drivers has a problem out on the side of the road at 4 a.m. Management. In this section, you can discuss why you would be a good owner of a trucking company. Explain your experience in the trucking industry. Describe how your experience will help in your business. You will also talk about your office personnel and their role in your company. Financial projections. This section is the most important. You will be discussing your operating costs and financial projections. Financial projection worksheets typically are good for 2 years. Also in this section, you will itemize every piece of equipment you require for your business, from office equipment, computers, copiers, printers, supplies, pens, copy paper, rubber bands, staples, paper clips, trucks, make, model, color, weight, trailers, length of 48 feet or 53 feet, vans or refrigerated, air ride or spring, stationary or sliding tandems, anything that is required to operate your company. Make sure to include any insurance, taxes, and maintenance costs. After you have calculated and researched your company and you have put your business plan together, it would be a good practice to allow a reputable CPA to look over it. They can let you know of any discrepancies in your figures. It would be even better if the CPA had a background in working with the trucking industry. That way, they would know exactly what to look for. Tip: it would be a good idea to keep your proposals updated as your company grows. Important points to remember. Just like a business plan, an operating authority is important to opening a company. Establish your company before applying for your EIN. Permits allow you to run the highways of the U.S. In addition, they allow you to carry specialized freight. Incorporating your company relieves you of the debt the company incurs. Small business grants are a great source when looking for financing. The SBA does not give out grants or loans. Make sure to overestimate your startup, which is better than underestimating and not have enough capital to do what you need. Chapter 2. Getting Freight. Obtaining freight. Obtaining freight is the most important part of the trucking industry. Without freight, the trucking company has no reason to be in existence. To get the freight, you have to follow these steps. Determine what the available freight in your area. Determine how much freight you will need to haul to keep your trucks busy. Determine your equipment needs to do the job. Determine area of operation. At this point, you need to be thinking about what region you want to operate in as a business. Do you want to run locally, statewide, regionally, or nationally? The further out you go, the more you have to make sure that when you send your drivers to that area, it's an area where you would not have too hard of a time getting freight out. In some cases, drivers sit for days because there are more drivers than freight. Getting to know your customer can help too. They can get you in touch with other companies in the area that may need freight moved. Researching the freight you are interested in can be beneficial. Placing ads for drivers. After you have gotten your freight coordinated, now you need drivers. Determine what the qualifications you are going to be looking for before placing the ad. Place an ad in your local paper to obtain the best drivers. You can also place job opportunities on the internet with job hubs and social networks. When you start receiving resumes and applications from prospective drivers, make sure they are qualified. There are several sites on the internet that you can place ads for professional drivers. CareerBuilder.com, CDL Truck Jobs, TruckDriver.com. Any one of these sites, along with plenty more, can give you the type of driver you are looking for. Writing proposals. Before writing your business proposals to your prospective customer, learn as much as possible about them and the commodity they produce. Learn their mode of delivery and about any products they need to be delivered to them. There are some things that are important in writing a proposal. Tell the customer what you can do for them. Assure them that what you can do will benefit their company. Let them know about the type of equipment you have and the amount of drivers and equipment and their condition. Always be upfront with your customer. Use graphics if you are able. Graphics are catchy to the customer and sometimes speak louder than words. It would be good to develop a relationship with the customer. If your proposal is correct and with graphics, It can be the difference between your document sitting on a pile on the edge of the desk or with someone who will read it. Make sure to do your research on the customer, other companies that ship product in, and the companies that take product out. Find out if there are other locations for bidding. Some customers will send you a RFP, request for a proposal, after the initial meeting with them. This document will tell you exactly what the customer is looking for in the proposal. When they receive all of the proposals, the customer decides which one is closest to what they are looking for. Your proposal could stand out from the rest if you do your homework. The more you know about the customer, the better chance you have that your company may win the contract. Types of freight. There are several different types of freight. LTL, less than truckload, most popular, usually weighs about 8,000 pounds, least expensive to ship, average delivery time 3 to 7 days. TL, truckload, used when load is more than 8,000 pounds and you need more space. Usually the truck that picks up the load delivers it. Air ride truckload. Air ride is needed for a load that cannot be shaken or moved around too much. Services are usually more expensive, so it's used less often. Air freight. Used for smaller shipments with dense weight. This is less expensive than LTL if the weight is dense. Expedited freight services. Loads that have a short delivery time, needs to be delivered right away, are expedited. When you have decided on what type of freight you are going to haul, then you need to make sure you have the right type of equipment. The types of equipment is vans, tankers, containers, flatbeds, and dump trailers. Analyzing your competition. Analyzing your competition is one of the most important components in acquiring a contract from a prospective client. One mistake most everyone makes is thinking that they are the only one trying to obtain this contract when, in actuality, there are several companies doing the same. There are two different types of competition. Direct competition, those that are offering the same or similar product with the same customer. Indirect competition. These are customers offering different products to the same customer. Make sure to distinguish between indirect and direct competitors when writing your business plan. Knowing your competitor will help you know your niche and what you need to do to obtain your contract. Tip: the key to your success is understanding your customer and his expectations for both process and outcome. Important points to remember. Freight is the thing that keeps your company up and running. Writing proposals to prospective customers gets you the freight needed to run your company. Set the qualifications for your company and seek the drivers that have them. Determine what type of freight you would like to haul. Knowing what your competition is doing is important to determine what freight will be best for your company. Chapter 3. Equipment. Determine how much equipment you need to do the job once you have secured the freight. You do this by, if you know you have 4 trucks, then you would need at least 8 loads to keep the trucks busy for the week. Never book more loads than you can handle. Leasing equipment might be the easiest thing for a company just getting started. You can lease the office equipment as well as the trucks and trailers needed for the business. Wanting to keep your overhead as low as possible, you could also make your company all owner-operator, which means you'll have drivers with their trucks lease onto your company and run under your authority. Leasing equipment can also be costly and have many restrictions. Before signing the leasing agreement, have a lawyer go over it with you. There are several reasons why leasing is a good step to make. Tax benefit. You can benefit from being able to list the payments on your taxes. Convenience. You can get this equipment without having to go through the process of purchasing it and putting insurance on it. Payment options. With leasing, you can choose how and when you pay for it. Cancellation. The cancellation terms are so that if you decide you did not need the equipment anymore before the end of the lease, you can cancel with no penalties. Speed. With leasing, You can take possession of the equipment immediately. You can lease more than just trucks and trailers. You can also lease your office equipment. Many leased office equipment come with a maintenance agreement in case something goes wrong with it. It can be fixed at no cost to you. Remember, when deciding to lease, check with more than one company to make sure you get what you want at the right price. Licenses and apportioned plates. Once you have the trucks and trailers, they have to have licenses and portioned tags. Department of Motor Vehicles issues these licenses for each truck and trailer within a week's time after you have applied for these. Depending on how many you need, it could take longer. You can apply for the IFTA, International Fuel Tax Agreement, sticker for each truck. Motor carriers use the IFTA to report fuel usage in the U.S., except Alaska and Hawaii and Canada. In some states, if you are an intrastate driver, you must obtain a county or city sticker for your vehicle, just as if you would for your car. Another type of road tax that needs to be paid is the 2290 Heavy Highway Use Tax. Secure office and warehouse space. When obtaining a lease for office space, it can be the most costly for a new business. Always consult a lawyer during the negotiation process to make sure everything is what you need and what you want, and the price is fair. When negotiating the lease, know what you want, such as the size of the building and if there is an extra lot indicated in the lease. Make sure the area you locate your offices in is a commercial zone allowing large vehicles in the area. When considering office space, think about whom and what will your company need, how many departments you need, lounge for the drivers if showers are needed, break room, fuel cards. When you decide to have trucks of your own and drivers for those trucks, you will have to make a decision on what type of fuel card you need. Fuel cards are a type of credit card that allows a driver to purchase fuel. Some fuel cards, like ComData, allow the driver to purchase fluids like oil, washer fluid, and the driver can receive cash advances on the cards. Cash advances are monies that are a percentage of the rate paid for the load. It's put on the card, and the driver can use for whatever purpose needed. The fuel cards give you a few cents discount on diesel, from 2 to 5 cents per gallon. Companies use several different cards. ComData, one of the most widely used cards in the trucking industry. ComChecks can also be written on your card number and can be used for payment on vehicle repair, fuel, and payroll in some cases. The MasterCard logo is now on each card. Fleet One offers not just fuel purchases, but freight bill factoring and permit services, temporary fuel, trip, and oversize overweight. T-Check offers T-Card fuel cards, express cash, and temporary permit services. TCH, Transportation Clearinghouse. Services are cheaper than the other cards, offers not just fuel cards, but issues money codes for cash. Pacific Pride, subsidiary of Right Express, has standalone fuel points. Right Express offers fuel cards, commercial cards, payment solutions, GPS vehicle tracking, and fuel supply management. Fuel cards allow a driver to keep up with their fuel usage as well as their mileage. It is easier for a company to issue fuel cards to each driver. Most fueling places, truck stops, do not accept personal or company checks, and it also frees up cash that the driver may need in emergency or other situations. Qualcomm, or Satellite Tracking System. Satellite tracking has been a part of trucking for the past 20 years. In addition, it's becoming more prevalent. With today's economy, most companies are worried about their freight as well as the driver and equipment. Let's face it, no one wants his or her equipment or freight stolen. More companies are equipping their vehicles and trailers with some sort of satellite tracking system, most notably Qualcomm. Qualcomm satellite tracking works on a cellular technology. Qualcomm began based on calculations from Omnitrack's satellite system. You can find Qualcomm systems in not only large trucks, but in police cars, buses, and any vehicle that requires satellite tracking. The trucking industry started using satellite tracking when companies decided that they needed some way of tracking the location of their freight. Dispatchers had to wait for the driver to call in and update them on their location and when they expected to be at the delivery or pickup point. OmniTrax was the first system used by the trucking industry, allowing them to send and receive messages via a computer onboard system. Most of the larger trucking companies track the trucks and trailers using a satellite tracking system. There are several different types of satellite systems to choose. Qualcomm, most widely used tracking system. GPS tracking is being used now in cell phones that are issued to drivers rather than install the Qualcomm system. PeopleNet. This system is being used by some large companies. Depending on how much money you want to spend, determines which system is best for your company. Having satellite tracking and communication in your vehicles is the most cost-effective for small to mid-sized companies. With satellite systems, you can keep track of where your equipment is loaded and unloaded, keep track of the freight, keep down idling, revving the truck unnecessarily, and watch the speed and fuel efficiency. There are also satellites tracking for trailers. Some are located outside the trailer, and some are inside. The systems that are set up on the inside are for reefers, refrigerated freight, so that the temperature can be monitored. If you carry high-value freight that you want to monitor, especially certain liquids, having a tracking system that monitors movement of the freight would be a good idea. Tracking trailers and trucks can also let the dispatcher know how long a driver has been in the door getting loaded or unloaded. Important points to remember. Leasing your equipment may be a better option rather than buying. Payments can be listed on your taxes. Just like plates and tags, the IFTA sticker is required for each vehicle and is used to report fuel purchases and usage. Fuel cards are a necessity for companies and drivers. It tracks fuel purchase and usage, mileage, and fuel mileage. Chapter 4. Drivers. Applications. Drivers are an important part of a trucking company. Without the driver, moving freight from point A to point B would be difficult. When hiring drivers for your company, make sure they meet the qualifications you set in the ad and have a commercial driver's license, CDL. The driver must be able to speak and understand English. Have each driver fill out an application with a copy of their MVR, driving record. Must have a medical card or be able to get a physical. Background check and pre-employment drug alcohol screening. There are several different endorsements for a CDL. Depending on the freight you secured, the endorsements can be T, triples and doubles, P, passenger, N, tanker, H, hazmat, X, combination tanker and hazmat, S, school bus. DOT requires that all forms mentioned above must be on file for every driver that's hired by your company and will check for them when they do their surprise inspection of your records. Along with these documents, drivers' logs are also required to be on file. A driver is disqualified when license suspended or revoked by governing motor vehicle department, criminal offenses, DUI, refusing alcohol test on site during a traffic stop, drugs, leaving the scene of an accident. While hauling hazmat, a driver can face disqualification if they are convicted of a violation of an out-of-service order for a period of 180 days to 2 years. Drug testing. Department of Transportation Regulation 49 CFR Part 40 discusses the requirements and procedures of workplace drug and alcohol testing for the transportation industry. Drug and alcohol testing is a requirement prior to be hired at any company. Any exemptions from this test should be in writing. If it is granted, there are specific steps to comply with the provisions where the exemption is granted. All urine tests are specified and may only be tested for the drugs set forth by DOT. There is specific information collected during a drug test. full name of employee, employee Social Security number, lab name and address, employer name, address, phone number, and fax number, employee address and phone numbers, day and night. Most employees use occupational health facilities to conduct DOT physicals and drug testing. After the test is done and sent in to an off-site lab, you must wait for the results before you can allow the employee to work with safety-sensitive work. It is against the DOT regulation to allow someone to work without verification. When the test results have come back, the employee is notified through the employer by offering them the job. If the employee has failed the test, he or she will be notified through the mail. Whether you pass or fail a drug test will be added to your DOT record and can be released to any employer who is intending on hiring them. Background checks. Unless the employer is operating a safety-sensitive operation, you do not need a background check. DOT requires a background check for all safety-sensitive operations. If the employee did not perform DOT-regulated work, there is not a need for a background check. Employers must get a signed consent from the employee in order to do a background check and cannot go back further than 2 years. Like drug and alcohol testing, the background check must be verified before an employee can perform safety-sensitive work. Background checks for drivers who intend on hauling hazardous materials include fingerprinting and criminal history reports. By using fingerprinting and criminal history, the TSA is using the plan to protect against terrorism. The USA Patriot Act requires background checks for all commercial drivers with or without hazmat endorsements. Hazardous items are chemicals, gas, explosives, radioactive or infectious substances, and other poisonous gases. DOT Regulation/FMCSA. CSA 2010. As of November 2010, new laws regarding the trucking industry came into effect. With these new laws, the driver will be responsible for any infraction with the vehicle he or she is driving. If an inspection is performed and there are problems found with the vehicle that warrants a ticket, it goes against the driver. Before these new rules came into effect, the ticket went to the company the driver worked for. The same goes for accidents, whether the driver is at fault or not. If a driver is pulled over for a roadside inspection and a warning ticket is issued, it is also added to the driver's record. A chart has points that coincide with each infraction. The only time it is not added is when the DOT officer has not done a roadside inspection. If it's a simple traffic stop or the officer is not a CVSA official. If a driver receives too many points, according to CSA 2010, there will be an intervention scheduled for the driver. There are 3 areas that are most likely the reasons for an intervention. 1 or more deficient basics, a high crash indicator, a complaint or fatal crash. Interventions are also necessary for unsafe carriers. When a carrier receives a warning letter, it gives them the opportunity to correct some of the problems. Now that you have decided to open a trucking company, this is something that you must keep in mind. CSA 2010 is a big part of the trucking rules that affect companies as well as drivers. These new rules will change some of the ways that trucking companies operate. As the saying goes, Big Brother is watching. Weigh stations. When a driver has picked up a loaded trailer, he or she has to pay attention to the weight of it. Some customers will indicate what the weight should be on the bill of lading. This is most likely calculated by adding the weight of each pallet if there is no way of weighing the freight on premises. Some customers have a full scale on the property so you can weigh your truck coming in and going out. Still others have a single axle scale where they weigh your truck 1 axle at a time. If there is no scale at the customer and you know from the past that their loads are usually heavy, it would be a great idea to know where the nearest truck stops are with a scale. If an overweight truck crosses the scale, they will be ticketed. Depending on what state you are in, the way they calculate an overweight ticket could be different. Periodically, DOT requires all commercial vehicles to pass through weigh stations. During this time, they are checking vehicles for the tires and any infractions as they pass through. They do pull a certain amount of trucks into the garage for a more thorough check. These truck drivers have their logbook, bill of lading, and permits checked while the DOT officer checks out the truck. They crawl under the truck from front to back, checking lights, brakes, tires, suspension, air lines, brake chambers, and any other damage that could be a hazard. If there are infractions that the DOT inspector deems unsafe, the driver will get a ticket, and in some cases, they cannot move the vehicle until the ticket is paid. Still, there are some drivers that are shut down, which means they cannot move the truck for 34 hours. When your truck is overweight, some states allow you to try to shift the weight to make it legal. If the weight cannot be shifted, then the driver is issued a ticket according to that state's calculation. Some tickets could be very expensive to the driver and to the company. With the new CSA 2010 laws, the ticket would count against a driver's DOT record as well as the company's safety record. There are some weigh stations that allow trucks to weigh in motion. What this means is that there is a single-axle mini-scale up to a half mile before the scale entrance that trucks run over, and it weighs the trucks per axle, then tells the driver either to bypass the scale or to enter using the electronic sign. There is also an in-cab device called pre-pass that does the same thing. If the truck passes under a device linked to the transponder in the truck, a green light flashes if the company's credentials, safety record, and weight of the truck is okay. If there is something wrong, a red light indicator will light up and the driver would have to pull into the weigh station. Pre-pass is being used in more than 30 states and 300 facilities. Tip: federal regulations set the guidelines, but local and state governments set acceptable use. Important points to remember. Set your company's qualifications, then seek and hire the drivers that meet those guidelines. A driver must pass a drug test before he or she can be hired. Any driver refusing a drug test is automatically disqualified. Be aware of the new CSA 2010 rules that govern the trucking industry. These new rules affect companies and drivers that work for them. Chapter 5: Owner-Operators versus Company Drivers. Owner-operator, also known as independent contractors or contract carriers, make up for 35% of the trucking industry. Owner-operators were created when the trucking industry was deregulated in the 1980s, allowing individual truckers the freedom to control their business, how they ran their business, trucks, and how much they were paid. The owner-operator has to shoulder the cost of truck payment, fuel, repairs, and taxes for their business. In some cases, some companies will pay some of the cost and take it out of the driver's settlement. There are some owner-operators that lease their trucks onto larger companies and haul freight under that company's authority. For the company, it is less overhead for them and for the lease operator. Not having to worry about obtaining freight on their own is less of a headache. There are some owner-operators that lease trucks from companies. The company buys the truck and leases to a driver that wants to start a business. By doing it this way, the driver does not have to come up with any money up front for the truck or any other fees necessary. In turn, the driver is obligated to the company as long as they are paying for the truck. As soon as it is paid for, the driver has the option to leave or stay with that company. Some companies will allow a driver to leave when the truck is half paid off. Company drivers strictly work for the company. The company provides the trucks, loads, uniforms, if necessary. Some companies offer health and life insurance and other benefits. Unlike the owner-operator, the company driver is sometimes forced to take the dispatch they are given. The company driver does not have to worry about the maintenance or repair cost of the equipment because the equipment belongs to the company. There are some drivers who prefer to be a company driver because of the overhead drivers will incur when working for themselves. Some companies have both company drivers and owner-operators. Company drivers are used for loads that are closer to the terminal, within 500 miles, while the owner-operators are used for any load over 500 miles out. There are some companies that really don't distinguish between the company driver or owner-operator when dispatching loads. Important points to remember. Owner-operators make up about 35% of the trucking industry. Leasing owner-operators onto your company can minimize your overhead. Company drivers are more reliable than owner-operators and can be forced dispatched. Adding owner-operators to your fleet can add more equipment without overhead. Chapter 6. Office Personnel. Office personnel. Every office needs personnel to keep it running efficiently. A trucking company is no exception. There are three major parts of a successful trucking company. Dispatchers. Dispatches drivers on loads to be picked up or delivered. This is the person of contact for the company between the driver and other office personnel. Broker. This position is responsible for brokering loads from customers for the company and any other company when your company cannot cover the load. Sales representative. This position is responsible for selling the company and its services to prospective customers to secure their business. Safety coordinator. This individual is responsible for the safety procedures of the company, to make sure that the company followed DOT regulations and that the drivers are also compliant. Safety coordinator. The safety coordinator maintains records for the driver, vehicles, trailers, and the company. They have to stay informed about regulation changes and pass them on to the driver and other personnel. The safety coordinator maintains driver records, notifies drivers of random drug alcohol testing, updates rules and regulations according to DOT and FMCSA, keeps track of licenses of drivers and vehicles. When DOT makes a surprise visit to your company to inspect your files, the safety coordinator is the person that they come to. It is very important to have someone in a position that will carry out the rules and regulations like it is written. The more they know, the less chance of the company coming out of the inspection with a high fine. Broker and salesman. The broker serves as the liaison between the trucking company and the customer with freight to move. Brokers find reliable transportation carriers to move freight that the company they work for cannot handle. For example, the broker has a load that needs to be hauled, and the rate is $3,000 per load. The company he or she is working for doesn't have enough trucks, and now the load has to be brokered out to another company. The broker will try to broker it at a lower rate, $1,500 per load. The driver or company will either take it or renegotiate the price until they have agreed on the price and the load is hauled. The sales representative sells the company to the prospective customer that has freight to move. They do this by developing a relationship with the customer, taking them out to dinner where they can discuss the company and all they can do for them. The sales representative explains to them how many loads they can cover for them, knowing that he wants more loads than the company can handle. After a few hours of negotiating, they come up with a rate that is agreed upon and a contract is signed between them. The sales representative then sends the information to the broker division, and they take what their company can handle out and then broker the rest with their trucking companies or individuals. There are times when they cannot find someone to take the load, so they put it on a load board, where truck drivers can see them. Some of the places they are seen are getloaded.com, carriercentral.com, dieselboss.com, directfreight.com. Dispatchers. Dispatchers keep track of driver, equipment, and loads. After receiving load information, they assign the load to a driver in the area, either by radio, cell phone, or electronic equipment in the truck. The dispatcher's job is to assign trucks to drivers, then dispatch them according to the schedule. These individuals are available to the driver at all times in case the driver or vehicles are having problems or there's a problem with the cargo. Their duties include, but not limited to, keep track of loads, drivers, and equipment, maintain driver work records, must be able to work all hours, 24-hour, use large boards to keep track of the routes taken by the trucks. Dispatchers coordinate the pickup and deliveries of goods. For long-haul drivers, hours of service comes into play when a dispatch is scheduled. The dispatcher also has to provide accurate directions to the customer for the driver, stay informed of road conditions on routes taken by each driver. With larger companies, they have several dispatchers that are assigned to a certain geographic area. Dispatchers keep track of not only the loads, freight, that are issued out, but of the routes each truck is taking, weather conditions, and traffic situations, and any issues that come up with the shipper or receiver. Most dispatchers are former truck drivers, but some are college graduates, even though a college degree is not needed. Former drivers, as dispatchers, know what a driver goes through out on the road. They can calculate a driver's time and dispatch them accordingly. Dispatchers that are not familiar with the trucking industry can cause personnel problems with your drivers. There are several sites on the internet that offer training for dispatchers. Some you have to pay for, and others are free. The courses range for 4 to 7 days long. Some online colleges offer courses in logistics that include dispatching and freight brokering. You can also purchase a book online for about $60 that you can use as a reference. Important points to remember. Dispatchers act as liaison between drivers and company and as the person of contact of the driver. Your safety coordinator helps keep the company DOT compliant by making sure all personnel under the FMCSA has the correct paperwork in their files and is qualified. Brokers and sales representatives obtain contracts from shippers and broker freight to other companies when your company cannot handle all of the freight. Chapter 7. Maintenance and Inspections. Maintaining your equipment. When you have decided to lease your equipment, trucks, trailers, and other equipment, you have to have some way of maintaining that equipment. Department of Transportation requires that your company have your vehicles inspected regularly. If you are an owner-operator company, then your drivers have to maintain their own vehicles and must turn in copies of their inspections. Having a shop on the premises or nearby helps a great deal. If there were a minor problem with the equipment, like tires, replacing lights or fluids, the shop would be available. Some larger companies have larger, more equipped shops that can handle bigger repairs. Maintaining your equipment keeps the vehicle in good working condition, prevents unnecessary breakdowns and sitting on the side of the road, unnecessary shutdowns by DOT during inspections, which counts against the driver and the company. DOT inspections are the hardest inspections a truck and driver can experience. With every infraction found, it could cost the company and driver thousands of dollars in tickets and repairs. With the new CSA 2010, the infraction counts against the safety record of the driver as well as the company. In cases of the driver being inspected at the scale, if there is an infraction that is ticketed, the driver cannot leave until the ticket is paid. Maintenance and inspection records are required for every piece of equipment owned. Each file must contain Vehicle Identification Number, VIN, unit number, year, make, model, and tire size. All repairs must be indicated in these files for the vehicle being repaired and must be kept with the carrier for a period of 18 months, even after the carrier no longer has the vehicle. Now you need to determine if you need a shop on your property. Depending on the type of freight you are going to haul and the size of your company, determines if a shop is needed. This facility is for the maintenance and repairs to your vehicles. Once you make the decision to have a shop, you must determine what the capabilities of the shop would be. Maintenance facility, 30, 90, 120-day inspections. Minor repairs, tire replacement, lights and light mechanical. Major repairs, engine replacements, bodywork, paint. Make sure your shop mechanics are ASE, Automotive Service Excellence, certified. You should have one mechanic for every 5 trucks, and every mechanic should be able to work on all equipment. Stocking your repair shop will depend on what type of shop you want. Undoubtedly, if your shop only does inspections and minor repairs, you wouldn't want to put parts, engines, etc. in your back room, and same goes if you have a full-service shop. The main items that should be in your shops are tires, replacement lights for trucks and trailers, and maybe windshields. Located on the internet, you can get software that can help you keep track of your inventory as well as the repairs done on each vehicle and/or trailer. Included in this software, you can keep track of your mechanic's repair hours and invoicing of all repairs and parts. Important points to remember. DOT requires all vehicles to be inspected regularly every 90 to 120 days. Maintaining your equipment keeps your vehicles on the road instead of being parked on the side broken down. Having a repair shop on your property can help with costs incurred on the road. These shops also require the mechanics to be ASE certified. Chapter 8. Trademark your business name. Many companies trademark their business names. If you want to trademark yours, the first thing you need to do is check to see if your company is eligible for trademark. In order to be eligible, you must be able to use in commerce, whether it be services or goods. Now that you know that you are eligible, you can start your search. Use the TESS, Trademark Electronic Search System, to search to see if your company name has a trademark already. You can also look for your design, if you have one. When registering your trademark, file the application online using TEAS, Trademark Electronic Application System. The cost for obtaining a trademark is free if you are the first to register and use the name and logo. However, if you are in a hot market for your name, logo, and colors, it may end up costing you. You would have to pay the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO. To keep this from happening, be creative with your name and use the search to make sure the name and colors so not already exist. Depending on your company's specific needs, the free option may not be what you need. The USPTO may charge you $350 for this service. You may need to use a lawyer when filing, which will add on more costs. Once you have filed for your name and registered it, your trademark is considered registered and you will be awarded the Circle R next to your name. It's yours from this point on. Important points to remember. Trademarking your company name means you own that name. The cost to trademark is free if you are the first to register and use the name and logo. Be creative when selecting a name and designing a logo. Chapter 9. Marketing your business. Advertising. Now that you have established the beginnings of your company, now you want to get the word out. One way of doing this is to create brochures. Although many companies depend on word-of-mouth advertising, this can be a good thing. Brochures are a great way to advertise your company. It can educate your customer about your company and what it does, your products and services, and your locations if you have more than one. You can also use the brochure as a business card just by adding your contact information on the back and as an application for services and jobs. Printing business brochures can be a cheap way to advertise and market your company. Brochures can be left in public places such as supermarkets, hotel lobbies, truck stops, and rest stops, depending on your type of business and the clientele you are trying to attract. Brochures are a great tool and you should use them. There are templates located on the internet that can help you design and print your brochure. Once you have the one you want and have printed it, you can take it to a printer and have as many printed as you need. Besides brochures, you can also market your company by placing an ad in the local newspaper and on the internet. Having a website built will also bring in customers when they search your keyword. If you don't know how to build your website, there are plenty of sites on the internet that can accomplish this for you. Some offer a one-time free site for your business. Advertising on social networks like Facebook, Craigslist, and Twitter can bring you customers that you would not normally reach. You can directly advertise in a certain city through Craigslist. Other media, such as trucking magazines and rolling billboards, can also be utilized. Important points to remember. Advertising your business will bring shippers and drivers to your company. Brochures are a great tool to use in advertising. You can also use social networks and start a website for your business. Make sure that this cost is included when writing your business plan and calculating your startup costs. Chapter 10. Trucking software. There are several different kinds of software on the market that cater to the trucking industry. Depending on the type of company, there are different software. Whether you are an owner-operator or a large company, you can find the software that can serve your needs. This software is designed to track every aspect of your company, from amount of drivers and their logs, your office personnel timesheets, payroll, taxes, fuel costs, fuel usage, mileage, accidents, number of vehicles, trucks and trailers. It can also track your dispatches and cargo inventory, even though there are some companies that are still using a dispatch board and dispatch sheets. When selecting the software service that's right for you, there are 3 solutions you can choose from. Licensed. Licensed and install on your computer. Hosted. Connected to server that hosts your software. Hybrid. You buy the license and your data is hosted remotely. Be sure you know which one would be best for your company. It could cost you in the end. Today's trucking industry software can do it all. With some software, you can get access to QuickBooks. They cover not only dispatch, but planning and compliance, mobile communication, logistics, online services, keeping track of customers, directions. Important points to remember. Software to track your company's everyday operations is necessary when you open your business. This software tracks everything from personnel timesheets to the amount of equipment you have, driver, cargo inventory, driver logs, dispatch. Know which software that's best for your company so you won't have to go out and purchase another one later on. Chapter 11. Benefits to having a trucking company. The trucking industry has been known to be a lucrative business. Your company, if operated correctly, could get some of that revenue. This industry generates billions of dollars of revenue in the U.S. If your company prospers, you can eventually add more drivers and trucks until you have your own fleet. You do this by reinvesting in your company. In addition, one of the big draws for drivers is the freedom you have. You are in control of what your truck does, what freight you will haul, and where. Having your own company is the same thing on a greater scale. Some drivers start out with 2 to 3 trucks, and that's all they want, while others want to go further and looking to operate a company with a large fleet, about 100 to 150 trucks or more. If your company does a good enough job, your customers will be loyal and always look to you to haul their freight. That means work. Working for yourself, whether it's just you or you have 100 trucks, can be a rewarding experience. Your sense of accomplishment can boost your confidence and make you want to work more. Conclusion. This guide has given the information you need to get your company up and running. If you have followed them, you should expect to be in business not earlier than 1 to 2 months. Give yourself time after filing the necessary paperwork due to others who are doing the same as you are. Stay positive and research as much as possible to make sure what you are doing is right for you. It doesn't hurt to talk to others that have started their company to get their view on what they have accomplished. You can be a successful owner if you follow this guide. Good luck. This has been How to Start a Trucking Company, your step-by-step guide to starting a trucking company. Written by HowExpert